Jackée Harry entered the history of American television with a smile as sharp as a blade and a voice impossible to mistake. But the road that led her to the spotlight was never an easy story to tell. Before becoming the first Black woman to win an Emmy for a sitcom, Jackée was already familiar with rejection, suspicion, and being pushed to the margins simply because she was too different, too full of personality, too loud, too unwilling to shrink herself to fit Hollywood's mold. Her talent did not come from elite institutions or privileged opportunities. It was honed through years of instability, where every role carried the fear of being replaced, and every audition was a gamble with her own dignity. Jackée was told outright that Black women had no place in primetime sitcoms, and that audiences would not accept a woman who was both intelligent and capable of overpowering men. She listened, stayed silent, and then did the opposite. Behind the explosive humor audiences saw on screen was a woman who had tasted loneliness, emotional wounds, and losses that could never be fully put into words. Success arrived late, but the price was demanded early. Fractured relationships, long stretches of quiet after the laughter faded, and the constant feeling of having to fight just to preserve the right to exist. Jackée Harry did not merely make people laugh. She forced American television to confront how it defines women, power, and voice. So how much did she have to endure to stand where she did? Beneath the sharp, explosive exterior the public would later come to know, Jackée Harry's childhood was a long lesson in learning how to stand on her own, when nothing guaranteed she would be allowed to stay. Jacqueline Yvonne Harry was born on August 14, 1956, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The daughter of Flossie Harry, a woman of Trinidadian descent who carried a fierce Caribbean spirit, and Warren Harry. She was the youngest of 5 children, a position that offered both protection and vulnerability. The last child, often noticed late and forgotten early. When the family moved to Harlem, New York, Jackée entered an entirely different world, loud, direct, and unforgiving of timidity. Harlem did not teach people how to dream. It taught them how to survive, to speak loudly, move quickly, and never apologize for taking up space. A family instability forced Jackée to understand early that uncertainty was not an exception, but a permanent condition. She grew up amid constant change, where attention became a rare form of currency. Her talkativeness and expressive nature were not born from a desire to entertain, but from a need to be seen. Silence meant erasure, and Jackée refused to accept that. Her love of performance emerged almost as an instinct. At 14, when she played the role of the King in The King and I at the Harriet Beecher Stowe School Drama Club, she did more than step onto the stage. She claimed it. A Black girl portraying the King already signaled that Jackée would not be confined by prescribed roles or social expectations. She later attended New York's High School of Music and Art, where the strict discipline of vocal training and opera taught her control over voice, breath, and presence, skills that would later become her quiet weapons in comedy. Her academic path continued at Long Island University, Brooklyn, where she graduated in 1975 with a Bachelor of Arts in Education. This choice was not a rejection of art, but a search for stability in a world that offered few guarantees to someone like her. And 2 years teaching U.S. history to 9th and 10th grade boys at Brooklyn Technical High School sharpened her ability to command space, enforce discipline, and engage with strong personalities. Another kind of stage, harsher and more real. By day, Jackée lectured on America's past struggles. By night, she stepped onto small stages where her passion for performance quietly burned. That double life continued until she realized that stability was only delaying the inevitable. Acting was not a random option, but something embedded in the way she existed. And when teaching no longer filled the emptiness inside, Jackée was forced to turn toward the path she had been avoiding, a path that promised no safety, but allowed her, finally, to be herself. Jackée stepped away from the classroom, and her first professional role, a nurse in Going Through Changes at the Billie Holiday Theater in Brooklyn in 1977, opened the path she had postponed for far too long. There were no bright lights, no applause, only a small stage, an audience seated close to the front row, and a new actress entering a world where success was never waiting in advance. In the years that followed, Jackée lived between auditions, brief supporting roles, and touring stage productions. She appeared in off-Broadway plays, then gradually made her way onto Broadway in the late 1970s. Her Broadway debut came with the role of Melinda Bernard in the musical A Broadway Musical, a major opportunity, and also her first collision with the harsh reality of the profession. And the show was so poorly received by critics that it closed almost immediately. For a newcomer, this was more than a failed production. It was the experience of standing in the heart of the theater world and realizing that no one had promised you a place there. Jackée did not return to the classroom. She stayed. She continued working in Broadway productions such as The Wiz, Eubie, and One Mo' Time. None of these roles brought fame, but they delivered something more essential: endurance. The stage became her real school. There, Jackée learned how to control comedic rhythm, how to command attention with a single glance, how to remain steady when a night's performance passed without anyone remembering her name. Then television cracked its door open. In 1983, Jackée appeared in the daytime series Another World, stepping for the first time into the world of long-form television and performing alongside names such as Morgan Freeman. After years of facing live audiences, she now had to relearn everything in front of the camera. A lens does not laugh like a theater crowd. It only records every small mistake. There was no applause to signal that she had done something right. This was not yet the defining moment. But it was unmistakable proof. The woman who once taught by day and performed by night had decided never to return to the safe path again. And from this point forward, her road began to turn in a direction that all of America would soon recognize. After many years standing at the edge of the stage, the opportunity Jackée Harry had been waiting for finally arrived. Not through a grand, dramatic role, but through laughter. In 1985, she joined NBC's sitcom 227, a series adapted from a stage play about the lives of Black women in an apartment building, now relocated to a predominantly African-American neighborhood in Washington, D.C. At the center was the Jenkins family, led by Mary Jenkins, played by Marla Gibbs, a sharp-tongued, observant housewife who sat on her stoop watching the entire block. And right beside her, more vivid than anyone else, was Jackée's Sandra Clark. Sandra did not enter the story as the lead. She was the younger neighbor, fashionable, flamboyant, fast-talking, living large, and always walking into a room as if every gaze already belonged to her. Mary represented stability, family, and familiar structure. Sandra was movement, desire, freedom without permission. The contrast between these two women became the show's comedic axis, the verbal sparring on the stoop, the knowing looks, the punchlines that landed before the situation had time to fully unfold. At first, Sandra was written as a supporting role meant to add color, but Jackée turned a small part into the center of gravity. Every time she appeared, the rhythm of the show shifted. Audiences reacted before she finished her lines, not because the script favored her, but because the energy she brought to the frame could not be ignored. Sandra Clark gradually became the character viewers waited for each episode. to the point that NBC even experimented with a standalone episode centered on her, a rare move for a sitcom supporting character at the time. In a series focused on middle-class family life, Sandra offered an image of a black woman living on her own terms. Bold, glamorous, sometimes superficial, but always unapologetically present. The success of the role extended far beyond studio laughter. In 1987, Jackée Harry won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, a historic milestone for American television and for her personally. From a stage actress who once watched her Broadway debut close almost immediately, she now stood at the podium of national television recognition. Sandra Clark did not just bring her into millions of homes. Sandra Clark lifted Jackée to the top. Yet standing there, she did not want to be confined by laughter. While 227 was still beloved, Jackée left her comfort zone to seek new challenges. Because for her, Sandra was a door opening a path, not the end of the journey. And behind the bright, buoyant lights of sitcom fame, her path was never as light as the laughter suggested. And the roles that followed demanded emotional and physical intensity so great that she would later pay for them with her own health. But that cost revealed something essential. The success of 227 was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one in which Jackée Harry was no longer just the woman who makes people laugh, but an actress willing to step into the harder terrain of the craft. After 227, she continued to assert her place through a very different role. Lisa Landry in Sister, 1994. No longer the flamboyant neighbor, Lisa was a warm, humorous, deeply caring, adoptive mother. This role introduced Jackée to a new generation of viewers, younger but enduringly loyal. If Sandra Clark was explosive laughter, Lisa Landry was laughter with a heart. Few people know that when she accepted the role of Lisa, Jackée had never truly considered sitcoms to be the path she wanted. She once dreamed of major dramatic roles, believed she was meant for serious theater rather than weekly television comedy. After the success of 227, she even feared that laughter would trap her forever. But Sister taught her something else. Sometimes the value of a role lies not in one's original ambition, but in the impact it leaves behind. Years later, looking back, she realized she had helped shape the image of a positive, ordinary black family, unburdened by constant tragedy or stereotypes, something still rare on television at the time. What defines Jackée's journey is not the number of roles she played, but what she carried with her from the stage: precise comedic timing, an energy impossible to overlook, and the ability to command the frame even when she was not at the center. She was not discovered. She stepped into the frame and forced the audience to look. There were moments when she felt embarrassed watching herself perform too much in earlier years, moments when she felt boxed in by laughter. Yet that honesty shows how relentlessly she continued to examine herself and move forward. From this point on, Jackée Harry was no longer an actress searching for her place. She became part of America's television memory, not only because of laughter, but because her characters lived alongside multiple generations, night after night, in front of the screen. Still, at the peak of sitcom success was not the end point of Jackée Harry's journey. It was the moment she was forced to decide what kind of artist she would become after the laughter faded. After 227 and Sister, when audiences had come to see her as a comedy icon, Jackée did not disappear like many television faces of her era. She shifted. Rather than repeating familiar images, she moved into another space within the industry. Daytime dramas, where laughter was no longer the foundation. Her role as Paulina Price on Days of Our Lives placed her in a world of extended emotion, family conflict, and dialogue without a laugh track to guide the audience. There, she could not rely on comedic energy to dominate the frame. She had to hold viewers through a heavier, more grounded presence. At the same time, Jackée returned to the stage, where she had begun long before television called her name. Their dramatic roles, such as her portrayal of Billie Holiday in Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, reaffirmed that her dream of being a serious dramatic actress had never disappeared. If sitcoms once made her fear being typecast, the stage became the place where she proved she did not exist solely through laughter. There is a quiet paradox in this journey. The woman who never wanted to do sitcoms endured longest on television precisely because of them. But instead of allowing that fact to confine her, Jackée let time reveal different versions of herself, from the explosive neighbor, to the warm mother, to a mature woman carrying emotional depth. And her journey raises a lingering question. Is what truly matters not where you begin, but whether you dare to keep changing while still holding on to who you are? Stage lights may preserve a youthful face on screen, but they cannot simplify a private life. Once laughter secured Jackée Harry's place on television, life behind the camera shifted into an entirely different rhythm, quieter and far more collision-filled. Jackée went through 2 marriages that did not reach a lasting destination. There were no tabloid spectacles, no public scandals, but enough for her to understand that success in the public eye does not automatically translate into peace at home. Her first marriage took place in the early 1980s, when her acting career was still in its formative stage. She married Jerry Jemmett, a respected composer, band leader, and arranger in the music world. They came together at a moment when both were uncertain, driven by passion, and searching for their place in creative fields. Jackée on stage and in small acting roles, Jerry through instruments, arrangements, and production. But life does not always move to the harmonious rhythm of art. During their years together, little about their private life became public. No scandals, no noise, just 2 people trying to reconcile individual ambitions with a shared daily life. As Jackée gradually moved closer to the television spotlight, opportunity and pressure arrived side by side, and that balance began to erode. By the mid-1980s, when roles and career decisions pulled her more forcefully toward visibility, the marriage ended, around 1984. Though brief and rarely discussed, this first relationship marked an important turning point in Jackée Harry's life. It was the first time she faced the difficult choice between a rising career and personal intimacy, a dilemma familiar to many young artists, and her earliest lesson in the cost of pursuing the spotlight. The marriage did not end in drama or bitterness, but it left her with a lasting realization. A radiant career can demand profound sacrifices, and sometimes those sacrifices come from what lies closest to the heart. Her second marriage did not begin quietly. In 1996, Jackée married Elgin Charles Williams, a renowned Beverly Hills hairstylist, later dubbed by the media as the Hair King. The wedding took place at the Beverly Hills Hotel, surrounded by lights, famous friends, and the feeling of a complete new beginning. 2 people from different creative worlds, television and beauty, met at a shared intersection of ambition, strong personalities, and constant public exposure. A year later, they adopted an 8-month-old baby boy named Frank. The decision was not impulsive. Jackée later acknowledged that she knew she wanted to be a mother, even as her career continued to consume most of her time and energy. Motherhood did not replace the stage lights, but it created a new axis in her life, one where she was no longer Sandra or Lisa, but someone responsible for another human being. Frank grew up in a home shaped by both creativity and discipline, later pursuing professional boxing, and has often said he is proud to have a mother who is joyful, yet unyielding. The marriage lasted 7 years, before ending in divorce in 2003. The romantic partnership ended, but the bond did not dissolve in the usual way. Elgin later described it as a different kind of love, no longer passion, but care rooted in wanting the other person to be stable, protected, and respected. They learned to stand on the same side as parents, stayed in contact, appeared at important moments in each other's lives, and even embraced in birthday photos years after their separation. The relationship transformed rather than disappeared. Alongside this, Elgin underwent a personal journey of his own when he publicly came out as bisexual in his late 40s through a memoir released in 2018. The decision followed years of fear, of disappointing his father, of living in environments where masculinity was rigidly policed. His coming out was not only his story, it reflected a form of delayed maturation that many in the entertainment world face, when authentic identity can surface only after layers of social roles have been stripped away. There is no melodramatic climax in this marital story. There is rupture, redefinition, a child placed firmly at the center, and two adults who chose to preserve the humane core of their relationship after romance had ended. Fame did not protect the marriage, but the way they separated revealed a rare kind of maturity under the spotlight. The relationships that passed through Jackée Harry's life did not end with marriage. After quiet breakups, she entered another phase of her emotional life, more discreet, yet no less attention-grabbing. And then, many years after the glow of sitcom fame had settled into television history, an unexpected revelation from Jackée herself opened a chapter that left the public stunned. In an appearance on a podcast hosted by Nick Cannon alongside comedian Kim Whitley, Jackée Harry shared that she had once been in a private romantic relationship with Michael Jackson. According to her account, this was not a casual industry acquaintance, but a real relationship. Mutual, emotionally involved, and physical. She spoke plainly, without evasion or teasing ambiguity. Jackée recounted it with calm detachment, as if revisiting an old memory rather than attempting to manufacture shock. When clips from the conversation spread online, public reaction fractured in multiple directions. Some were stunned, some skeptical. Others debated whether the revelation altered how they viewed a pop icon long known for his extreme privacy. The story resonated not because of sensationalism, but because of how Jackée told it, without spectacle, without blame, without attempting to rewrite anyone's image, speaking of him instead with a quiet tenderness. In that same conversation, she also addressed Michael Jackson's vitiligo. Jackée emphasized that his physical transformation stemmed from a medical condition, and that the loss of pigmentation was far more extensive than what the public typically saw. Her tone was protective rather than judgmental, like someone who had been close enough to understand the pressures that public scrutiny can impose on a human being. Beyond that story, Jackée has continued to live exactly as she always chose to live, without hiding the fact that she still loves, still dates, still enjoys emotional connection at any age. She has joked that being a legend does not equal loneliness and has never treated age as a barrier to intimacy. Jackée has also spoken openly about dating younger partners, recalling past relationships with lightness rather than regret. Between iconic roles and television laughter, Jackée Harry's private life emerges in a different register. Imperfect, unstandardized, but consistently honest with her own emotions. After her marriages ended, Jackée did not withdraw from love. She entered a phase of life lived on her own rhythm, openly acknowledging dating younger partners and refusing to let age become a boundary to connection. For her, intimacy was no longer a place to seek security, but a place to find joy and shared energy. That openness kept Jackée Harry's romantic life in the public eye. The media repeatedly mentioned her relationships with younger men as part of the image of a woman who remained vibrant, noticed, and unmistakably magnetic in her own way. Very much Jackée. Among these, there were periods of speculation about a close relationship between her and actor Blair Underwood later on. There was never official confirmation from either side, and the story remained at the level of industry rumor. Still, the very existence of such talk made one thing clear. Jackée was not viewed as television's past, but as a woman fully alive and energized in the present. Today, she says she is single. The way she speaks about love, humorous, light, without bitterness, suggests that she does not see emotion as something finished or closed off, but as a natural part of continuing to live honestly and fully with herself. Jackée's openness about dating younger men didn't just draw attention to her romantic life. It pushed many people to look more closely at something else. The way she chose to present herself to the world at nearly 70, and the quiet battle behind that appearance. At a time when many performers step away from the spotlight, Jackée made a deeply personal decision. She publicly revealed that she had undergone a major cosmetic surgery lasting roughly 6 hours, performed by a well-known facial plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills. What she emphasized was not the idea of looking younger, but the feeling of looking in the mirror and still recognizing herself. Behind that choice was a silent psychological crisis. Jackée admitted she had struggled with body dysmorphia, not because she feared aging, but because she feared one day losing her sense of self inside her own body. Undergoing surgery at age 69 was not simply about altering her appearance. She chose a deep plane facelift along with several additional procedures to rebalance her facial structure. The early recovery period, however, was far from easy. Swelling, unfamiliar reflections, and the shock of seeing her own face left her frightened. The greatest fear was not physical pain, but a fleeting thought that haunted her. What if I'm no longer Jackée? Her doctor described a very specific aesthetic philosophy. Not creating a new face, not stretching the skin to change expression, but carefully adjusting structures that time had pulled downward, allowing the face to return to a more natural balance. The goal was preservation of identity, not erasure of age. Jackée herself shared a small but telling detail. After everything, her eyes had not changed. To her, that gaze was irreplaceable, the part audiences had known for more than 4 decades. The cost of the procedure reportedly reached tens of thousands of dollars, and in some places even more. Hollywood has long treated cosmetic surgery as a secret to be hidden. Jackée chose the opposite path. Transparency. Not to show off, but to talk openly about identity and the feeling of being at home in one's own body. Recovery was not instant. She was candid that her body needed months to settle, that her face needed time to return to its most natural state. But one thing she stated with certainty was simple and firm: I am still me. That conviction connects all of Jackée Harry's choices, her roles, her relationships, and her body itself. She is not running from time. She is simply refusing to let it decide who she is. How do you feel about Jackée Harry choosing cosmetic surgery at nearly 70 to reclaim her sense of confidence and self-recognition? And when you look at her new appearance, do you see it as a positive, natural change, or do you still prefer the familiar image you've always known? Some actors are remembered for their roles. Some are remembered for their beauty. Jackée Harry is remembered for the feeling she brings the moment she appears on screen. At a time when American sitcoms rarely offered Black women characters who were humorous, intelligent, and powerfully charismatic all at once, Jackée walked into the living rooms of millions of American families every week and did something remarkably difficult. She made audiences laugh while still making them feel respected. Sandra Clark was not a joke. Lisa Landry was not merely a fun mom. These characters proved that Black women could be glamorous, confident, sharp, and emotionally layered, without being reduced to stereotypes. Her journey also mirrors the movement of the entertainment industry itself, from Broadway stages to national network sitcoms, then onward to new platforms and streaming. She did not disappear as eras changed. She moved with them. Alongside acting, Jackée became an inspirational speaker, regularly engaging with students and supporting education and scholarships, a way of holding doors open for the next generation to enter rooms she once had to push into herself. Jackée Harry's greatest legacy is not a title, like Hollywood's most beautiful. She is one of the most familiar faces in American television memory, someone generations grew up with through laughter, presence, and an energy that cannot be mistaken. Time did not push Jackée Harry out of the spotlight. It simply changed how she stands within it. Today, as she continues to work steadily, Jackée remains visible on screen, most notably through her role as Paulina Price on Days of Our Lives, a character that has allowed her to maintain a strong presence with daytime television audiences while connecting with a new generation of viewers far removed from the sitcom era. At the same time, she has appeared in comedy and television projects released on streaming platforms, reflecting a natural transition from traditional broadcast television into the digital content space, where storytelling rhythms and audiences have evolved. Gone is the explosive energy of Sandra Clark, or the family-centered humor of Lisa Landry. The Jackée of today carries a different tone, calmer, more restrained. It is the posture of someone who understands the rhythm of the craft, knowing when to shine and when simple presence alone is enough to give weight to the frame. Alongside acting, she dedicates time to mentoring younger performers. Jackée speaks to them not as a television icon, but as someone who has lived through countless rejections, closed doors, and moments of having to believe in herself when no one else did. Her experience no longer lives only in scripts, but in backstage conversations, the kind of truths newcomers rarely hear spoken honestly. After recent personal changes, she has also entered a quieter internal phase, learning to accept her current image as a continuation, not a replacement, of who she once was. It is an adjustment process that is understated, but deeply real. The image of Jackée today is not that of a star afraid of being forgotten. It is that of a woman learning to love the version of herself that is aging, still laughing, still working, still choosing to appear before the world on her own terms. Some stars burn brightly and then fade. Jackée Harry chose a different way. She stayed, not through scandal, not through grand titles. She stayed through the laughter that once shook sitcom sound stages, through the look audiences recognize within seconds, through an energy that cannot be dimmed whether she plays a lead or a supporting role. From a history teacher standing before classrooms of all-male students, to a Broadway actress whose debut show closed almost immediately, to Sandra Clark, the character who made an entire nation remember her name, her path was never straight. Yet it is precisely those turns that shaped a face remembered more deeply than beauty alone. Jackée does not represent perfection. She represents endurance. A Black woman unafraid to be funny, to be sensual, to be loud, to be flawed, to age, and still show up as herself. Hollywood may change its standards, replace its stars, and reinvent its platforms. Audience memory does not shift so easily. Jackée Harry is not Hollywood's most beautiful face. She is the face generations laughed with. If a moment, a role, or a line from Jackée has stayed with you, share your thoughts below, hit like on the video, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue revisiting the people who quietly became part of our lives.